Morning, all. All right, so we got 11 games tonight in the NHL because it's Thursday night, so busy night. We got 4 games starting at 7 o'clock Eastern, 4 o'clock Pacific. An hour later, we get 2 more, and then an hour later, we get another, and then we got the 4 late games. So, again, it's a night where they've got it scheduled so that there's a lot you could follow if you're trying to watch the hockey the way I am. So, 4 o'clock Pacific, 7 o'clock Eastern start between Colorado and the Ottawa Senators. Let me just go ahead and straighten up Ottawa here a little bit. There we go. So these teams met on January 14th in Denver, and it wasn't pretty. It was a 7-0 win for Colorado. The Avs will want to channel that energy again tonight. They're 38-22-6 overall their last 10 games. They're 6-3-1. They've won 3 in a row. They're 4 points behind Minnesota. They're 3 points ahead of Winnipeg in the standings. On the Ottawa side of things, they're 33-30-4. Their last 10, they're 6-4, but they've lost 3 in a row. That has largely pulled them out of the race for a playoff spot. They are 8 points behind the New York Islanders and the Pittsburgh Penguins for a playoff spot. They are 1 point ahead of Detroit. And yeah, with that few games left, the 8-point difference is likely to be too much. 7 Eastern, 4 Pacific start between the Montreal Canadiens and the Florida Panthers. Florida's won both of the first 2 meetings handedly. 7-2 on December 29th, 6-2 on January 19th. Thus the no mercy magnet for these first 2 matchups. And the fourth and final meeting between these teams will be March the 30th. For Montreal, they're 27-35-6. They are 2-6-2 over their last 10. They did win their last game. That was over Pittsburgh. They're 18 points behind Pittsburgh and the Islanders. They are 1 point ahead of Philadelphia. On the Florida side, they're 33-27-7. Their last 10 games, they're 6-3-1. They lost their last game in extra time. They're 3 points behind Pittsburgh and the Islanders. They are tied with Washington, and they're 1 point clear of Buffalo. So, a big game tonight for Florida. I expect them to come out with a lot of energy, and we'll see if at the end of the night they're any closer to the playoffs. Because Montreal can play spoiler. We saw that against Pittsburgh. And speaking of Pittsburgh, also at 7 Eastern, 4 Pacific, they're in against the New York Rangers. Pittsburgh's won the first 2 meetings. On December 20th, 3-2. March 12th, 3-2 again, this time in overtime. The fourth and final meeting will be on March the 18th, so they meet again on Saturday. For the Pittsburgh Penguins, they're 34-23-10. Their last 10 games are 7-2-1. They did lose their last game in regulation. They're 8 points behind the Rangers right now, so probably kicking themselves for not getting any points against Montreal, because then they'd only be 6 back, and they could be as little as 2 back by Saturday night if they sweep this season series. But at any rate, they're tied with the New York Islanders. They have games in hand on the Islanders. They're 3 points clear of Florida and the Washington Capitals. The New York Rangers are 38-19-10. Their last 10 games, they're 5-4-1. They did win their last game. They're 8 points behind the New Jersey Devils. They're 8 points ahead of Pittsburgh and the Islanders. So that's about as clear-cut of a spot in the standings as we have right now. They're going to end up third, is my thinking. 4 o'clock Pacific, 7 o'clock Eastern, Tampa Bay in against New Jersey again. And New Jersey lost at home against Tampa Bay a couple nights ago by a score of 4-1. So I'm wearing New Jersey because they kind of have to bounce back, don't they? The third and final meeting will be March the 19th. So these teams will get to know each other quite well. That March 19th matchup, of course, will be in Tampa. For the Lightning, they're now 40-22-6. Their last 10 games, they're 3-5-2. They did win their last game over New Jersey. They are 3 points back at Toronto now, so the door is open for them to get closer. They're 13 points ahead of Florida, so pretty firmly entrenched in either a 2 or a 3 spot in the division. On the New Jersey side, they're 44-17-6. Their last 10 games are 7-2-1. They lost their last game against Tampa. They're 2 points behind Carolina now. They are 8 points ahead of the New York Rangers. So with a win, Carolina's not playing, so that would pull them back into a tie atop the division. And then at 8 Eastern, 5 o'clock Pacific, the Boston Bruins and the Winnipeg Jets will have their second and final meeting. December 22nd, Boston won at home by a score of 3-2, and that's how it works. They win at home a lot. Now, they're 50-11-5, but over their last 10, they're 7-3, and they've lost their last 2. Definitely an edge has come off Boston's game, which makes some sense since they are 16 points ahead of Toronto atop the division. So the lack of urgency in Boston's game, completely understandable. On some level, is it somewhat concerning? Absolutely. But it's also understandable. So Winnipeg, 38-27-3. Their last 10 games are 3-5-2. They lost their last game They're 3 points behind Colorado. They're 2 points behind Edmonton. And they're 4 points ahead of Nashville. So, yeah, we'll see how this one goes because Winnipeg is in some danger. I know Nashville's schedule is about to get more difficult, but for tonight, they're against Chicago. So this one starts at 8 Eastern, 5 Pacific as well. Nashville won the first two meetings on December 21st by a score of 4-2. On March 4th, I should say, by a score of 3-1. Chicago's 23-38-6. Their last 10 games are 3-6-1. They won their last game. They're 27 points out of the playoffs. So 27 points between them and Winnipeg. They're 2 points back of Anaheim, and they're 1 point ahead of San Jose. So the Bedard race is definitely on. And Chicago playing some good games here. So on the Nashville side, they're 34-24-7. Their last 10 games are 7-2-1, but they've won 3 in a row. And again, I understand their schedule might be seen as a bit soft compared to some others, but they're winning the games that they have to. And then the other funny part is the idea of, well, they're going to play teams above the playoff line. It's going to get a lot more difficult. But if they win their next couple of games, and if Winnipeg loses a couple, then they're a team that's above the playoff line. So it really is that close. They're 4 points back of the Jets. They're 1 point ahead of Calgary. So the Flames are not completely out of this either. And yeah, Nashville's definitely not playing like a team that sold at the deadline. 9 Eastern, 6 Pacific start between Dallas and the Edmonton Oilers. The first two meetings was a split. On November 5th, it was a 6-2 win for Dallas. On December 21st, it was a 6-3 win for the Edmonton Oilers. So for Dallas, this has been a mostly successful road trip. They're 37-18-3. Their last 10 games are 7-2-1. They did lose their last game in Vancouver, but like I said, mostly successful road trip. They're 1 point ahead of Minnesota, who won last night, and they're 5 points ahead of Colorado. On the Edmonton side, they're 37-23-8. Their last 10 games are 6-4. They did win their last game. They're 5 points back of the LA Kings for second in the division. They're 1 point ahead of Seattle. So right now they are in third. 7 o'clock Pacific, 10 o'clock Eastern, we will see the Calgary Flames and the Vegas Golden Knights renewing their acquaintances. These matchups tend to get kind of like what we saw with Minnesota and St. Louis last night, but a little more subdued. October 18th, 3-2 win for Calgary. February 23rd, a 4-3 win for Vegas. You're right at my feet, sweetie. Here, let me pick you up. All right, so Calgary 30-24-14 is their overall record. Their last 10 games are 3-4-3. They did lose their last game in extra time. It's what they do. They do lead the league in overtime and shootout loss points. They are 5 points back of the Winnipeg Jets. They are 11 points clear of the Vancouver Canucks. Are you interested in this at all? Is that why you sit at my feet? Anyways, Vegas is 42-20-6 overall. Their last 10 games are 7-2-1. They've won 4 in a row. They're 3 points ahead of LA. They are 8 points ahead of the Edmonton Oilers. So for Vegas, really, they can be kind of home and cooled. If Columbus went in and beat LA tonight and Vegas wins, then yeah, they should have the division sewn up. But it's not going to be that easy. Calgary should be playing some desperate hockey tonight, and it's usually a very entertaining game when they play against Vegas. 10 Eastern, 7 Pacific start as well between the Vancouver Canucks and the Arizona Coyotes. So the first meeting this year was December 3rd. It was a 3-2 overtime win for Vancouver. The third and final meeting will be April the 13th. For Vancouver, they're 29-32-5. They're getting close to NHL 500. We haven't seen that in a while. They're 7-2-1 in their last 10, but they've won 5 in a row. Yeah, 5 in a row. Isn't that a lot? Anyways, what do you mean they didn't beat anybody? They are 16 points behind Winnipeg for that final playoff spot. They are tied with St. Louis. There you go, sweetie. What do you want? Okay, I almost picked up the other one. Arizona 25-32-11 is their overall record. Their last 10 games, they're 5-3-2. They've won 2 in a row. And so for Arizona, they're playing spoiler relatively well themselves. They're 2 points behind St. Louis and Vancouver, and they're 7 points ahead of the Anaheim Ducks. So Arizona's played well enough to maybe pull themselves out of Bedard territory, but we'll see. Vancouver's been playing really well themselves. I'm kind of expecting a Vancouver win here. Not that it necessarily matters to anything, but the way Vancouver's been playing lately, they should beat Arizona. Then at 10:30 Eastern, 7:30 Pacific, we got Columbus and LA. These teams met in Columbus on December 11th. Blue Jackets won that one 6-5 in overtime. So for Columbus, they're 21-38-7. Their last 10 games are 3-4-3. They did win their last game. That was against San Jose, of course. They're 10 points behind Philadelphia at the bottom of the conference. Montreal no longer the team that they're chasing. Now it's Philadelphia. But with a 10-point difference and how many games are left in, chasing is really a relative term. Yeah, Columbus is going to finish at the bottom of the East. The question is, do they finish at the bottom of the league? LA 39-20-9 overall. Their last 10 games, they're 7-1-2. They did win their last game. They're 5 points ahead of Edmonton, 6 points ahead of the Seattle Kraken. So while they're still in the hunt for first in the division, they should at the very least get home ice advantage in the first round because, yeah, Edmonton, Seattle, there's still a lot of time left, I guess, but they should be able to hold on to at least second place in that division. 10:30 Eastern, 7:30 Pacific start between Seattle and San Jose. Now, on the surface of it, this is when Seattle should be, and I know everybody's going to pick Seattle, but the most recent meeting was February 20th, and San Jose won that one 4-0. On November 23rd, that was the 8-5 ridiculous win by Seattle, one of the ridiculous wins Seattle's had this year. Seattle's 37-23-7 overall. Their last 10 games, they're 5-4-1. They did lose their last game. They're 1 point behind Edmonton. They're 3 points ahead of Winnipeg. They're 6 points ahead of the Nashville Predators. On the San Jose side, they're 19-36-13 overall. So rough record for them. They're 1-7-2 over their last 10. They did lose their last game in a shootout. They're 3 points behind Anaheim. They're 1 point. It was an overtime loss against Columbus. I felt it was going to be a shootout, and so that's going to slip out here and there. But yeah, they're 3 points behind Anaheim. They're 1 point behind Chicago, and they're 2 points ahead of Columbus. So in the event they lose and Columbus wins, all of a sudden we've got a tie at the bottom of the league in that Bedard race. Let me know your thoughts in the comment section below as always. Don't forget to hit like and subscribe if you're browsing your way through, you just happened upon this video. Thank you guys so much for watching, for all your support. I will talk to you again soon.